Thank you very much for that kind introduction. As for the architecture, I think those of you who are paying attention will remember that that was lesson number 1. It's great to be with you tonight on multiple levels because this is the kind of event that I think is so important. I'm pleased to be part of it. I'm pleased to know you better and really to honor one of Canada's great entrepreneurs. It's the kind of thing we need to do more of. It's the kind of thing Canada isn't that great at often. But we need to stand up and celebrate greatness when we see it, and we're seeing it tonight. We benefit from people like Murray Hogarth because of the fruits of their industry. They literally give us jobs. They feed us, they clothe us. But we benefit as well because of the lessons we can learn. And literally tonight, he shared some of them with you. Dan mentioned, in fact, that we're tight on time. So I thought it would be appropriate tonight to talk about what I've learned from the people I've met over time about leadership and entrepreneurship. But in the interest of time, what Murray said. I'll give it a little kick at the can, though. I think leadership is a fairly mysterious quality. What are the elements that make one person stand out, that give him or her inspiration, that make them go the extra mile? It's a question. It's the spark of creativity that makes them a pioneer, if I could. Now, entrepreneurs who are also capable of creating something lasting, I think, are leaders. Entrepreneurs are the lifeblood of our country. There are amazing stats about the jobs that are created by small business. Small business are the people that hire. The same stats will tell you that a lot of those businesses go under. They revolve. One thing that entrepreneurs do is they don't give up. Leaders are entrepreneurs who can take the spark of creativity and turn it into something great and lasting, something they can leave their sons and their grandsons. Speaking metaphorically, yes, daughters too. As a journalist, I'm a professional observer, so what I want to do is share some of the observations with you. I understand the irony of asking a journalist to talk about leadership. We're watchers, we're bench sitters, it's what we do. But I've had the pleasure and the privilege of being close to and talking to and gleaning information from some of the great leaders. Ron Joyce, I've spent time with. People who have created value, and so I thought I'd share some of the insights about what it's all about. Journalists are held in such low regard. It's always interesting to me. You know that old saying, sometimes your low self-esteem is just good common sense? I think that applies to journalists. Actually, there's a great story of a guy who goes to his doctor, and his doctor says, "I'm sorry, I have terrible news. You've got 6 months to live." And the guy says, "My God, doctor, what should I do?" And the doctor says, "Well, I don't know. If it were me, I would go out and I would marry a business journalist." And he says, "Will that make me live longer?" And the doctor says, "Well, no, but it will seem longer." So I want to talk a little bit about some of the qualities that sets people like Murray Hogarth apart, and Ron Joyce and Harry Vortman, and many of you here in this room, people who make things that are lasting. I really do think it does come down to leadership. And this is a question, what is it? It spawned whole industries, right? Books, tapes, books on tape. People who want to be like Jack Welch. They want to be like Bill Clinton or any other leader that they admire. And truthfully, I don't think it's that simple. I've met Jack Welch. If you read his book, he's considered to be one of the greatest business leaders of all time, even with the slightly tarnished image that followed. Incredibly successful years at General Electric, incredible value creation. It's hard to know, though, if what he did translates, because he did it in such a particular way. I had the privilege of meeting Prince Andrew. And wow, you don't know charisma till you meet this guy. I can't explain what it is, but there's something about him. You are the only person in the world when he shakes your hand. True leadership is a bit of a mystery. So what I always think is that it's the kind of thing you know you've experienced in hindsight. You know when you have been led. But can you reverse engineer it? Can we figure out what it is to learn from people like Murray to help us be better leaders? We turn to Churchill when we think of good leadership. Murray did it, I will too. He said, "Character may be manifested in the great moments, but it's made in the small ones." In Canada, if I can digress for a minute here, this question of leadership and entrepreneurship, it's not just a question for a night like this, for celebration and wine and great desserts. It's actually the central economic issue that we face. We are facing a crisis in our country. I know you were like, this is a dinner speech, lighten up, lady. But it's a crisis of productivity. It's a crisis of innovation. And in its simplest form, productivity just means our children will be better off than we were. And we're not doing a good job. We're failing at it. We're failing our kids. We're not teaching them how to innovate and be entrepreneurs. And the time is over for us to wonder why this is happening and start doing something about it. We're very well positioned, our country. Obviously, we weathered the recent financial storm. We all know that. But we also have all of the resources that the world needs. They're going to come calling. But that's not enough to actually make us great and keep us great over the long term. To stay great over the long term, we actually have to do more than just let people come mine our stuff. We've got to add a little value, we've got to create something, we've got to innovate, and we've got to be entrepreneurs. The problem, it's not something Murray knows anything about, is we don't stretch, I think. We aren't teaching the next generation how to grow, how to be daring. It's the kind of thing you don't learn at university. If you're waiting to learn it at university, it's way too late. You learn it in kindergarten. You learn it at your dad's kitchen table. It's about curiosity, I think. All right, so let me just break it down a little bit. This is based on sort of a cross-section of people I've met and talked to in interviews, things I've read. What are the qualities of a leader? Well, the first thing I think, these aren't in particular order, but this one's important. A leader is prepared. It sounds really dull, but a friend of mine wrote speeches for Bill Clinton. And writing a speech for Bill Clinton is a very frustrating experience because Bill Clinton is one of the planet's great orators. He doesn't need a lot of help. So when you write a speech for him or you're on his team, the best you can hope, the thing you strive for, is that there's a sentence fragment, there's a thought, there's some tiny little thing you contributed that winds up in the guy's speech, because otherwise he's got it covered. So Clinton had to go give a eulogy at a very important funeral, and he was one of a list of speakers. And he didn't know much about the guy, and it was a very busy period, and he actually was going to rely quite heavily, theoretically, on my friend's speech. And my friend labored over it, because it's daunting to write for a man like Bill Clinton. And Clinton went up, and he delivered a note-perfect eulogy. Brilliant, amazing, beautiful. Not one word from my friend's speech. Not one thought, not one sentence, nothing. Like, my friend didn't exist. And he was really crushed. And afterwards, the president came down and said, "You're not going to believe this, but the guy before me took your sermon away. He was cold, had nothing to say. But he knew enough, he had prepared enough, that if that happened, if he got up there and there was not a note in front of him, he could deliver a good eulogy." Preparation, sometimes the most important part of success. I think good leaders know how to delegate. Okay, I got a story for this one. CEO looking to hire a top executive in a strategic role. So he interviews a mathematician, an economist, and an accountant. And he asks them all the same question. What do 2 + 2 equal? He starts with the mathematician, who looks at him like he's a bit of a nut, and says 4. 4 exactly? Says the CEO. And the mathematician says, yes, 4 exactly. Then the economist comes in, and he hesitates briefly, and he says, well, on average, it's 4, plus or minus 10%, but on average, 4. Then he calls in the accountant. What do 2 + 2 equal? The accountant gets up, pulls the blinds, locks the door, sits down beside the CEO, and says, what do you want it to equal? Now, the good leader knows which of those men to hire or women and not wind up in jail. But the great leader doesn't micromanage. In my view, the great leader, the one who builds the company that can endure, knows how to let go a little bit. An entrepreneur can build a successful company, but they can describe to you as well the moment they had to relinquish control to others. Not every entrepreneur is a born manager. I don't know if Murray had that moment. I don't know if Ron had that moment. But there's a moment at which your baby is too big for you, and you've got to let somebody else in.